and today I will present my master thesis in academic master study program Business Informatics. The thesis title is Continuous Requirements Engineering Method for Mobile Application Development, and the scientific supervisor is Professor Marita Kir. So the agenda for my presentation is a short introduction in the topic, theoretical part, and then we will proceed with the scientific contribution and practical contribution. And afterwards, to conclude, will be presented conclusions. The topicality and objective of this master thesis is the topicality. The thesis topic comes from my work experience. I'm the project manager of software development company for almost more than 3 years, and I see that there is a problem in the process, how the requirements are managed, and how the software development process is managed as such. And this is the topic why I choose this. That's why I choose this topic and go deeper in it, and to structurize and make some guidelines how to proceed with the requirements engineering process in life. And particularly, I take a scope of mobile development project because more of my experience is based on this field, so I'm confident in this field. And the objective of the master thesis is to provide continuous requirements engineering method for mobile application development projects. So the next is theoretical part I will introduce you with, and the theory review steps. I combined them in 3 blocks. The first block is requirements engineering process. I take into the consideration and into research the requirements engineering phases. I take a look of each of them and decided which phase should be implemented in the method. So then I proceed with the step when I compare 2 software development life cycle models. One is waterfall, other is agile. And these 2 I take these 2 because I have experience in work life with these 2 methodologies, and the conclusion is that I take for this experiment or methods application the agile frameworks, and also obtain the interpretation about human-centered engineering and requirements engineering at design time and runtime. So I have the interpretation of these 2 aspects. And the third block is continuous requirements engineer related work. So I concentrate on existing related work on this field, and these are for self-adaptive systems, and they're specific. I can mention 4 methods: Care, Technic, House, and iStar. And then I proceeded to model federation. This is the new framework which was carried out in last year, in 2016. And this is my base for my master thesis proposed method, the model federation framework. And to go deeper, what is model federation? As authors said, that it is an approach that provides the means to integrate multiple models conforming to different paradigms. And here you can see 3 paradigms in my master thesis, which I take into consideration. I created 3 spaces, which is generic space, technical space, and functional space. And it's separated by the functions it consists of. The first one takes the requirements in big loads, like in big scope, and then split them in smaller requirements. And the technical space concentrates on technical tasks which is implemented, and the requirements become alive in the life. And the third is functional space, where acceptance criteria is set, and design. Acceptance criteria is the feature how we can validate the requirement at the end when it's implemented through the technical space. Furthermore, scientific contribution for my master's thesis is the method proposed. I will go quickly through each step right now, and then I will conclude with the practical implementation of the method, so we will come back to each step once more. The first step, which is gather information sources, is the step when requirements engineering starts with. It's the typical step when you gather information to see how the work can be started. So we need something to create, but how? What is the criteria for it? So we gather all information sources, then we proceed to step 2, organize information sources because they can be linked in some way, in specific way, in technical way, in design way, or different ways how to organize them. Then elicit requirements. We take these sources and take out of them the requirements as such. So we know that these requirements can be implemented one by one. Then we analyze and indicate requirements. We go deeper and see what is the requirement scope and need for it. Then we map requirements to specific element. It means that every requirement is linked with another requirement. There is no requirement which is based on their own. So there should be links between them. And when we have linked them, we notice that the load of requirements should be similar. We can't implement big requirement and nearest requirement is really small. So we need to balance them, and that's why we need the step when we split requirements and the load is balanced. Then we define goals for each of the requirement, and also in these 7 and 8 steps we define the tasks, how to implement these steps, these requirements in life. Then step 9 is integration part, when the implementation, the development of the tasks based on the requirements are carried out. And in the step 10 we validate the requirement through this task, which is done, and the validation shows that from that there can be 2 outcomes. It's good, it's passed. Then we go to create a release. We can this requirement put in the release, which will be published for the use, or failed. Then we repeat the process from the step 4. It's from the analyzing and indicating the requirement, and go through the process to come up with validation with pass. So about the continuity in this method, so it should be continued, and you can see there is 3 cycles. The first cycle is when I already told that if you have not balanced loads between the requirements, you should split them, and that's why you split and go back and go farther. And then is the cycle 2, where the link back is through define goals. If you can't define goals, you should go back to the analyze step, and you should go deeper in the analyzing the requirements, so you can definitely define the goal. And the third cycle is from the end, when you failed the requirements validation, and you go back also to analyzing phase to receive the good requirement which will pass the validation phase. Practical contribution to show that this method can be used in real life projects. I choose tools. I search for tools which can be used for methods application, and from the comparison I choose the Visual Studio Team Services. This is because of different criteria based on different features it has, but also I have experience in it, and it's open source. I do not need to pay for using it. For small amount projects like mobile application development project I choose, it's my own project. I'm the author of it, and this is mobile application project Meters, which is Android platform based. And yes, now we have these 2 elements, and we can proceed with application of this method. So the project setup. First of all, the picture is only for showing that this is a screenshot. It's not needed to clearly see the elements there, because I will explain. The first you set up the project in the team service. So you have your project where to start to work and gather requirements, using it for the project life cycle. And the another element which I needed is initial requirements. I need requirements on my hands so to start the work. So I have this from the project side, and I have these elements. I started the project in team services. I have these requirements, so we can proceed with the step 1. And this is the gather information sources. I have this initial requirements. Previously, I told you that's why I have this step 4. Step 1 concluded. Then step 2, organize information sources. I have created the epic story for the Scrum or Agile methodology. There is a hierarchy. Epic stories says everything about the welcome screen, and the scope is a welcome screen. So I put all information here with all requirements there. And the next level will be user stories, and then tasks, and then testing cases, and so on. But this is the start. Step 2, I create the epic entry. I listed the requirements. I put that into the system. Then step 4, analyze and indicate requirements. There is the moment when I need to think how to divide these requirements by the technical scope or design scope or etc. So I create the next level user story, which is shown here and in the step 4. Then I map requirement to specific element. This user story is linked to Epic, which is the upper side of these entries. And then I see that these user stories are not balanced well. I split the requirements and created more user stories. And then define goals for new elements from requirements. For each user story, I defined objective and key results. So there's clear vision what should be done. And define goals to requirements. They create tasks. Under the user story, I create tasks, which is for developers from different kind of practical implementation. So it's done by each person who will create who will work with this task. So, and acceptance criteria is defined also in user story, so that the requirement can be tested afterwards. And the final 2 phases is integrate the requirement. These tasks are implemented in real life, so that when the task is resolved, it can go to the step 10, which is validating requirement, and this is a testing. And based on these acceptance criteria, the test cases are created and tested, and the outcome could be 2 ways: it's passed or not passed or failed. Pass is create a release, it's good, and the requirements implemented, and the failed is repeat process from step 4, because the analyzing part should be in place because there is some problem with the requirement. So, conclusions. Yes, conclusions are that this method is very practical. Based on previous work in this field, continuous requirements engineering methods are more or less not so practical, but there I created 10-step guidelines how to take them and implement in the real project life cycle. So I have done it. And based on this mobile application project meters, I can say that this method can be implemented in medium-sized agile projects for mobile development. And this method should be upgraded in future work. And here I use Visual Studio Team Services. and it's applicable for this method, and I can carry out all steps here, there. So it's usable for this method. So I have a recommendation, but I can also not take them. Can I proceed?
In 3 words.
Yeah. Basically, there should be three things done. The first one is the Visual Studio Team Services. It's one tool. I need to take a look at the different tools. Maybe there are tools which bring more benefit to this method. The second one, the method should be presented to researchers to criticize and improve it. And the third one is that this is a proposed method is tested on the mobile development projects, but it should be tested also on different kind of software development projects, so it can be applicable to another software development projects also. Thank you. I'm open for your questions.